In the hollow core of a Dyson-ringed station orbiting the dying star Zelkor 7, the War Council convened beneath a dome of synthetic starlight. 7 war factions, 32 systems. All eyes turned toward the suspended hologram of Earth. It rotated slowly, blue, serene, absurdly ordinary. "The species is young," hissed Exarch Vorshak of the Threx Dominion, his voice like oil on stone, slow, reactive, lacking in temporal initiative. "They speak of patience as though it were a virtue, not a crutch." He turned his crimson gaze toward the others, reading the air like a predator sniffing for weakness. Most of them, he noted, were already convinced. Only the Malari representative, Ambassador Ress, seemed unsure. Her thin, translucent form pulsed a dim silver as she replayed a short transmission, recorded footage from a human diplomatic encounter on the edge of the Orion expansion zone. A single human stood on a windswept plain surrounded by 13 Varaxi warbots, each armed and primed. The human, a woman in a Navy uniform, stood motionless. No weapons, no backup. The bots encroached, demanding surrender in 7 languages. She never blinked. After 70 seconds of silence, the bots began to short-circuit. A burst of interference scrambled their command protocols. Internal systems locked. Then a detonation, surgical, precise, wiped the machines from the field in synchronized microbursts. The woman remained, calm, still. "That one," Ress murmured, "concerns me." She stood still because she had no options, Vorshak snapped. Had we not ordered those bots to non-lethal status for the demonstration, she would be ash. Ress paused the feed. "You believe that?" "I know it." Silence held the room like gravity. The tension wasn't uncommon in the hegemony's war councils, but this had weight. Something about the humans, how they spread, how they learned, made a few of the elder races uneasy. The emissary of the Kaldari Enclave, a neural cluster encased in a biomechanical shell, clicked softly. They adapt faster than the VRAL, despite half the lifespan. Their neural architecture isn't optimized for speed, but for recursive patterning. Abstract deception. You see slowness, I see predictive masking. Flowery nonsense, Vorshak muttered. They built an FTL relay network within a century of first contact. Not stolen, not replicated, designed from scratch. That is not slowness. Ress leaned forward. They watch before acting. Even now we monitor 17 listening stations planted in human border space. Not one has been traced, but the humans have moved around them, shifted patrol routes subtly, deliberately, as if they're letting us listen. That sparked a murmur. Among predators, knowing you're being watched was one thing. Allowing it? Subtle manipulation, Vorshak said, waving a clawed hand. Empty threat. They are observers, spectators. They speak of restraint and non-violence, while we burned 5 moons just to send a message last cycle. Ress narrowed her eyes. And what message do you think the humans are preparing? Vorshak turned, flashing fangs. Whatever it is, it won't reach our borders. I say we strike preemptively, decapitate their outer colonies, bleed their trade routes dry. Take their quiet as consent. Let them whisper from ashes. A slow, pulsing nod moved around the table. One by one, the members voted. Holographic markers turned from amber to blood red. Unanimous. The humans would be absorbed, their fleet scattered, their stubborn little species put under proper authority. No war declaration, just pressure, covert sieges, resource denials, tactical collapses. They expected panic, scrambling, protests. No one noticed, in the corner of the station's vast chamber, a single floating sensor relay blink out for half a second. Just one. Briefly. They didn't know the human ambassador's aide, a man with average grades, average clearance, and a warm smile, was actually a Tier 4 data weaver operative embedded 15 years prior. He received the vote confirmation before the council even adjourned. And 2 sectors away, aboard the UNS Gladius, Commander Elena Drake opened a secure file containing the minutes of the meeting. She read silently as alarms stayed silent and her crew played cards nearby. She sipped tea and smiled faintly. Commander Elena Drake stood at the bridge viewport of the UNS Gladius, watching the pinpricks of light scattered across the starfield, like distant fireflies. Each spark was an alien warship, a reminder of the threat looming just beyond the outermost human colonies. Her dark eyes were steady, unreadable. Around her, the bridge hummed quietly with low conversations. The clatter of cards on tabletops and the soft murmur of laughter. The crew seemed unnervingly relaxed, despite the presence of an armada so vast it could choke entire solar systems. Her first officer, Lieutenant Rahim Tarek, shifted uneasily. "Commander, the Threx fleets are deploying faster than our predictions. Our sensors show they're massing in 3 primary vectors. Shouldn't we be ordering battle stations? Preparing defensive grids?" Elena turned slowly. "Have you seen their vectors in detail, Rahim? Every jump point, every asteroid field, every outpost along their approach?" He nodded. "Yes, but they're moving in tight formation. Once they jump in, it will be overwhelming." She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "And yet, they don't know the minefields we laid 2 weeks ago, the ones invisible to their scans. They don't know about the virus we seeded in their comm relays." Rahim's brow furrowed. "Commander, their intelligence networks are sophisticated. If they detect—" "Rahim," she interrupted softly, "they won't." The young officer stared. "How can you be so sure?" Elena's gaze returned to the stars. "Because this isn't a game of brute force. It's a dance of shadows. And I intend to lead." 2 weeks earlier, the UNS Gladius had slipped beyond the edge of known space, cloaked in a veil of stealth tech designed to fool even the most advanced alien sensors. Its mission had been quiet but vital. Deploy covert teams to key jump points, hidden moons, and abandoned research stations along the frontier. These teams, small autonomous units of specialists, did not set charges or build fortifications. Instead, they infiltrated communication hubs and starship yards, installing AI scripts designed to mimic natural cosmic anomalies. To the Threx and their allies, these were random glitches, harmless static in the fabric of space. But beneath the surface, those glitches were deadly. They corrupted navigation algorithms, scrambled enemy communications, and most importantly, created false data loops. The enemy fleets were being guided into traps of their own making, blindfolded and marching to the rhythm of a silent human conductor. Back on the Gladius, Elena's calmness became a shield against panic. At one console, Ensign Mira Jensen, just 22 and fresh from the academy, cracked a grin as she watched her sensor feed. "Commander, the Threx think they're playing chess, but they're stuck on checkers." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "They're expecting us to react immediately to their strikes. But we've already taken our moves weeks ago. They're blind to the full board. It's beautiful in a way." Elena nodded. "It's patience, not beauty, that wins wars. The calm before the storm is often the most dangerous moment." Suddenly, the bridge went quiet as the long-range sensors picked up movement. 3 massive alien fleet groups emerged from jump points, their ships spreading like dark petals unfolding. The crew stiffened, but Elena stayed calm. "Not yet," she said. "Let them come." Rahim frowned. "You mean we wait while they close in? Doesn't that give them the advantage?" "No," she replied, voice soft but unwavering. "They think we're weak because we're calm, but we're calm because we're ready." As the alien fleets advanced, human ships moved deliberately, silent and unseen, adjusting patrols, diverting minor trade convoys, and quietly laying additional traps. The Gladius itself remained in shadow, refusing to fire a single shot. Below decks, Elena held a private meeting with her strategic officers. She spread out star charts marked with clusters of blinking red dots, enemy fleets, and overlaid with human stealth deployments. "We're not trying to outgun them," she told them. "We're trying to outweight them. Let their arrogance be their downfall." Lieutenant Chen, the communications officer, looked skeptical. But if we wait too long, won't our colonies suffer? We can't defend every system. Elena met his eyes. We don't need to defend every system. We need to control their supply lines and command structures. One decisive blow can shatter an empire. Night fell over the ship, though the stars outside remained eternal. Elena walked the corridors, greeting her crew quietly, reassuring them with her presence. The calm wasn't just for the enemy, it was for them. In the mess hall, a technician nervously asked, "Commander, how do you stay so calm?" "I can't even sleep with all this tension." Elena smiled gently. "Because I trust my people, because I know what we've already done, and because I know what's coming next." She paused and looked out a viewport at the glittering starfield. "Let them come, we're ready." Hours later, as the Gladius slipped further into stealth, Elena sat alone in her ready room. She pulled up a live feed of a distant colony under threat, watching as the first shadows of alien ships darkened its orbit. She took a slow breath and tapped a secure console. Phase 1 initiated. Her voice was steady, almost serene. Outside, unseen and unheard, human operatives moved into position, and the calm before the storm held its breath. The first shots of the war never echoed across the void. There were no blaring sirens, no frantic battle cries. Instead, destruction spread like a whispered secret, precise, surgical, almost polite. At the UNS Gladius, Commander Elena Drake stood silently behind the helm officers as the long-range sensor feed flickered to life. 3 human colonies, Kepler 56, Ardell Prime, and Novus Reach, were under coordinated attack. Estimated enemy fleet strength, 23 capital ships, 200 escort vessels, reported Ensign Mira Jensen, her fingers dancing over the console. "Shields are holding steady," Lieutenant Rahim Tarek added, watching tactical displays. "Our early warnings must have given them enough time to prepare." Elena's eyes narrowed. Not quite. On the view screen, the alien vessels slipped through the colony's outer defense grids, launching missile salvos and energy barrages. At first glance, it looked like chaos. Ships exploded in fireballs, colonies burned. But then the unexpected happened. The colossal jump gates, massive constructs that enabled rapid fleet movement across star systems, began to falter. One by one, they shimmered, flickered, and finally imploded. The cascade sent shockwaves through the nearby fleets, severing reinforcements and stranding many vessels in hostile territory. "Jump gates are collapsing," gasped Ensign Jensen. Lieutenant Chen, communications officer, quickly scanned incoming traffic. "We're picking up distress signals from multiple fleet commanders. They're reporting severe system malfunctions, navigation, targeting, power rerouting. Their own ships are firing on each other." A murmur rippled through the bridge crew. "They thought they had the upper hand," Elena said softly. "They were wrong." Thousands of kilometers away, aboard the Threx flagship Rathborn, Admiral Kashal clenched his claws around a console, his entire frame rigid with fury. "Report," he barked. "Commander," a young officer answered, sweat beading on his forehead. "Our jump gate at Ardell Prime has detonated. Communications are fragmented. Some units are reporting hostile fire from unidentified vessels, cloaked ships, apparently human," Kashal snarled. "Impossible. The humans are too slow to mount such an operation. This must be sabotage by our own defectors." "Sir, there's more." The officer hesitated. "Boarding reports at Novus Reach. We've lost 2 destroyers and a cruiser. The boarding team say the attackers operated in complete silence, no weapon fire, no alarms." Kashal's crimson eyes flashed. "So they infiltrate and strike without warning. Their calm is not weakness, it is calculated." Back on the Gladius, Elena allowed herself a small smile. "They believed our patience was a weakness, but it was a weapon." In the control room, a display showed a web of human AI programs cascading through the Threx communication network like invisible spiders. These programs intercepted enemy commands, scrambled sensor data, and injected subtle but deadly errors into targeting systems. "Phase 2 is underway," Elena said, voice cold and precise. Far above Novus Reach's orbit, a cloaked human boarding team emerged from a stealth pod. Their movement was ghost-like, almost ethereal, as they breached the airlock of a crippled Threx destroyer. Captain Mara Lynn, leader of the boarding team, moved with quiet efficiency. Her squad disabled security nodes and seized the bridge before the enemy crew could react. By the time alarms blared, the ship's weapons were already turned off, its engines dead. "Secure the vessel," Mara ordered. "We have their attention, now." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human warships executed hit-and-run tactics against the disrupted enemy fleets. They struck supply lines, ambushed isolated task forces, and disappeared into the black before retaliation. On the Gladius, Elena watched the chaos unfold like a conductor orchestrating a symphony. "Their fleets are bleeding," she murmured, each strike precise, surgical. "They will not survive the slow bleed." As night fell over the human colonies, civilians whispered stories of the silent invaders, shadowy figures who came without warning and left no survivors. Yet the humans held firm, their resolve unbroken. In a quiet conference room aboard the Aed Gladius, Elena met with her senior staff. "Make no mistake," she said. "This is only the beginning. The Threx believed we were slow and unprepared. They thought the calm meant surrender. But calm is the surface. Below it lies a storm." Rahim nodded. "And storms can tear through even the strongest armor." Far from the battlefield, the Galactic Hegemony Council reeled in disbelief. "How could this happen?" demanded Exarch Vorshak, face twisted, with rage. "Our fleets are crippled, our communication lines infected. The humans, they're not just fighting. They're dismantling us piece by piece." Ambassador Ress watched silently, her silver form flickering. "We underestimated their patience, their precision. They are not barbarians rushing to war. They are predators waiting for the perfect moment." Vorshak slammed a claw against the table. "Then we strike harder. We will crush them before they can finish." But the council knew, deep down, that the war had shifted. The calm human was no longer a spectator. They were the hunter. The why? War had shifted from a straightforward clash of fleets to something darker, more insidious. The Threx Dominion, once a thunderous tidal wave of firepower, now found themselves drowning in a sea of ghosts. Aboard the Threx flagship Wrathborn, Admiral Kashal paced his command deck like a caged beast. The crimson glow of control panels cast long shadows across his gaunt face. His once proud fleets were fracturing under a pressure no one had anticipated. "Reports from the front?" he growled, stopping before his second-in-command. Commander Vaskin's eyes darted nervously. "Sir, over 70 vessels have been lost or disabled in the last 10 days. The damage is not from open combat alone. Ships are being boarded, communications hacked, systems sabotaged internally." Kashal slammed a claw on the console. "How is this possible? Our scanners detect no enemy presence. No fleet is engaging us head-on. This is cowardice." "No, sir," Vaskin said quietly. "It is something else entirely. Our ships are under attack from within." In the void beyond the shattered orbital ruins of Novus Reach, a human stealth frigate glided silently through the black. Inside, Captain Mara Lynn directed her boarding squad with deadly precision. "Target the navigation arrays and comm relays," Mara ordered. "Disable first, then extract. Minimal engagement." Her team moved like shadows, slipping through ventilation, shafts, and emergency hatches, disabling electronic defenses before the crew could even register their presence. They worked in eerie silence, not a word spoken. In one sector, Mara found a Threx officer attempting to rally his crew. Without hesitation, Mara raised her pistol and fired a single, non-lethal shot to the arm. The officer dropped, groaning, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "That's the point," she whispered to her team. "Fear without pain, control without blood." Back on the Wrathborn, Kashal stared at the cascading system failures spreading like wildfire. He barked orders, but his crew was losing control. One after another, warships in his fleet began targeting each other, their weapon systems compromised by hidden AI viruses embedded deep within their code. "This was not luck," muttered Chief Engineer Sarl. This is precise sabotage, calculated months in advance. Kashal's claws clenched. Who would have the patience for such an attack? The humans? Sarl nodded grimly. They are more than patient, Admiral. They are methodical. Their silence is their weapon. Meanwhile, aboard the UNS Gladius, Commander Elena Drake watched the growing chaos with a detached calm that unnerved even her closest officers. Lieutenant Chen approached, his voice low. Commander, reports indicate that several Threx fleet captains are defecting. They're refusing to follow orders, some even broadcasting ceasefire messages to their crews. Elena nodded slowly. Their unity is breaking. The Threx pride blinds them to the truth. The war is already lost. We don't have to destroy every ship. We just need to make sure no one wants to fight anymore. Mira Jensen, standing nearby, glanced up from her console. Commander, there's chatter in their ranks about human diplomats reaching out in secret, offers of alliance of mutual benefit. Some captains seem tempted. Elena's smile was thin and unreadable. Good. Divide and conquer has always been humanity's oldest tactic. In a hidden human outpost on the edge of a shattered asteroid belt, a small group of operatives gathered around a tactical display. The room was dim, the air thick with anticipation. We've planted sleeper agents in over 50 Threx command vessels, one whispered. When triggered, their systems will go dark simultaneously. Elena stepped forward. Timing is everything. The Threx will never recover from this. Their arrogance is their downfall. We move not as an army, but as 1,000 shadows. A comm signal crackled to life. The voice of a field operative came through. Targets confirmed. Phase 3 activation ready. Elena's eyes gleamed. Then let's begin. Back on the Wrathborn, desperation turned to paranoia. Kashal ordered the fleet to tighten formations to root out traitors, but every attempt only widened the rift. Command! An officer shouted. A cruiser has turned on the flagship's escort. They're firing on each other. Kashal's voice was a growl of fury and disbelief. Seal off the command core. Lock all bridges. Hunt the saboteurs. But the damage was done. The cracks had opened and the tide was turning irrevocably against the Threx. As the sun rose over the human colonies, news arrived in bursts of static and broken code. Entire Threx fleets were immobilized or turning on themselves. Key command ships lost without a trace. Supply lines severed beyond repair. The calm human, it seemed, had become a storm of calculated destruction. Silent, relentless, inevitable. Elena Drake stood once more on the bridge of the Gladius, her eyes fixed on the flickering sensor readouts. The enemy was bleeding out piece by piece and the galaxy was watching. Prepare for the next move, she said softly. They still don't understand what it means to face a calm human. The once mighty Threx dominion was unraveling faster than anyone had imagined possible. The Wrathborn drifted in silent fury, its hull scarred but still holding, a shattered symbol of a crumbling empire. Inside, Admiral Kashal stared at the battle map. Crimson blots marking lost fleets, fractured alliances, and dead zones where entire squadrons vanished. Commander Vaskin, Kashal's voice was sharp, desperate. What is the status of the sleeper agents? Have they struck? Vaskin's expression was grim. Phase 3 is complete, Admiral. Over 70% of our command vessels are dark or compromised. Many captains have either surrendered or are in open mutiny. The crews are confused, frightened, and most dangerous of all, disillusioned. Disillusioned, Kashal repeated, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. We taught them discipline and loyalty. Discipline without hope is fragile. The humans have taken away their hope. On the UNS Gladius, Commander Elena Drake convened a strategy meeting with her senior staff. The room was tense, the weight of their victories heavy on everyone's shoulders. Admiral Kashal's fleet is fractured, Elena began, tracing the map of the affected sectors. They are on the brink of collapse, but their numbers still threaten our colonies. Lieutenant Rahim Tarek leaned forward. We could push for a decisive strike now. Hit their remaining capital ships, crush their morale entirely. Elena shook her head slowly. No. If we rush, we risk galvanizing their forces. Kashal is desperate and dangerous. He will fight to the last breath if cornered. Ensign Mira Jensen spoke up. Then what's the plan, Commander? Elena's gaze hardened. We extend the bleed. Keep the pressure constant but subtle. Let their fear and mistrust consume them. When the Threx are bleeding from within, that's when we strike. In a dimly lit chamber aboard the Wrathborn, Admiral Kashal summoned his remaining loyal captains for a council. The air was thick with tension, betrayal simmering just beneath polite words. Your loyalty is appreciated, Kashal said, voice steady but cold. The galaxy watches us falter. We must reclaim the initiative. Our enemies rely on silence and subterfuge. We will answer with fire and ferocity. Captain Sethra, a grizzled veteran with scars crisscrossing his exoskeleton, spat venom. Admiral, our crews are fractured. Some refuse to fight. Others are turning their weapons on each other. This war is lost, not because the humans are stronger, but because they are smarter. Kashal's eyes flared. Then we must be smarter. We will root out traitors, enforce order by any means necessary. No mercy, no hesitation. Meanwhile, deep in human-controlled space, Elena reviewed new intelligence. A list of suspected traitors within Threx ranks, potential defectors ready to switch sides, had just been verified. Send envoys, she ordered quietly. Offer terms, safety, resources, a place in the new order. We do not just conquer, we assimilate. Lieutenant Chen raised an eyebrow. Won't that be seen as weakness? Not weakness, Elena replied. Strategy. Victory is not always about destroying enemies. Sometimes it's about making them allies. At the outer colony of Ardell Prime, tensions ran high. The people whispered stories of the calm human commander who outwitted the entire hegemony. Children played war games pretending to be stealth operatives, slipping past enemy lines unseen. Captain, Marlin stood on the colony's surface overlooking the rebuilding efforts. Soldiers and civilians worked side by side, erecting new defenses and tending to the wounded. Her comm crackled. Commander Drake to Captain Lin, the council is ready for your update. Mara sighed, then replied, patch me through. Back. On the Gladius, Elena listened as Mara's report came through. We've secured several key vessels intact, Mara said. Enemy morale is shattered. Boarding teams continue to neutralize threats with minimal casualties. Elena's voice was calm but firm. Excellent. Hold your positions and prepare for Phase 4. We're ready to cut off the Threx's remaining supply lines. In the shadows of the Wrathborn, Kashal's paranoia deepened. He ordered mass arrests of suspected saboteurs, but the rot had spread too far. One by one, his captains turned, their backs. The unity that had forged the Dominion into a war machine was gone. The calm humans had not just bled their fleets, they had shattered their will. That night, in the quiet command room of the Gladius, Elena looked out at the stars. Each twinkle was a reminder of the vastness of space and the battles yet to come. We fight not because we want to, she murmured, but because we must. Because sometimes calm is not surrender. It is the fiercest weapon of all, and somewhere, deep in enemy space, the Threx fleets bled on. Slowly, inevitably, into oblivion. The void was filled with silence, but that silence was pregnant with anticipation. The UNS Gladius floated like a ghost among the shattered remnants of what had once been a proud Threx fleet. Its sleek hull shimmered in the starlight, the calm heart of a war that had long since slipped from the Threx's grasp. Commander Elena Drake sat alone in her ready room, eyes scanning decrypted communications. From across the front, the data was grim yet promising. Entire squadrons mutinied, weapon systems compromised, and key officers vanishing under suspicious circumstances. The calm human's patience had birthed chaos in the heart of the Dominion. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Lieutenant Chen's voice came through the comm. Commander, new intel from our agents. Threx Admiral Kashal is consolidating his remaining loyal forces at the Orion Nebula. He's preparing for a final stand. Elena's lips pressed into a thin line. Thank you, Lieutenant. Notify Captain Lin. Phase 5 begins now. Across the void, in the swirling gas clouds of the Orion Nebula, the Wrathborn stood like a fortress amidst the stellar storms. The battered flagship had become the rallying point for what remained of the Threx fleet. Desperation etched into every hull, every shattered bridge. Admiral Kashal paced the command deck. His crimson eyes burned with a mixture of fury and resignation. If we lose this, the Dominion dies. Commander Vaskin stepped forward. Sir, our loyalists have fortified the nebula's natural defenses. The gas clouds interfere with enemy sensors, perfect for ambush. Kashal nodded slowly. Good. Let the calm human come to us. We will meet their silence with fire. Back on the Gladius, Elena addressed her senior officers in the war room. The holographic map flickered, revealing the swirling chaos of the Orion Nebula and the cluster of Threx ships within. We know Kashal's location, but this won't be a straightforward battle, Elena warned. The nebula's interference will neutralize much of our sensor advantage. Lieutenant Rahim Tarek leaned forward. We can't just strike. We'll walk into their trap. Elena smiled faintly. No, Rahim. We won't walk in. We'll disappear into the silence with them. Captain Mara Lin's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, boarding teams are ready. Stealth frigates positioned at all ingress points. We're waiting for your signal. Elena's eyes gleamed. Then let's show the Threx what it means to be truly calm. The Gladius slipped into the edge of the nebula, sensors cloaked and engines muted. Invisible to the naked eye, it threaded through cosmic storms like a needle through fabric. Suddenly, the nebula erupted in violent flashes. Laser fire streaked through the gas clouds. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers in the dark. The Threx loyalists had sprung their trap. Brace for impact, Elena ordered, voice calm but commanding. The battle was fierce but measured. The human ships avoided the heavy Threx fire, weaving between pockets of gas and debris. They struck, where the enemy was weakest, communications arrays, shield generators, supply frigates, without engaging the main fleet. Deep inside the nebula, Mara Lin's boarding teams sprang into action. Cloaked in silence, they breached the hulls of isolated Threx vessels, disabling weapon systems and seizing control with ghost-like precision. One boarding officer whispered into his comm, "Enemy crew confused. No resistance. Their morale is shattered." Mara nodded. Good. We keep them guessing. Fear of the unknown is their greatest enemy now. Meanwhile, Elena monitored the battlefield. The nebula's interference was a double-edged sword, obscuring sensors but muffling communications. It was a game of shadows and whispers. Prepare the virus payload, she ordered. Time to turn their own systems against them. Lieutenant, Chen injected the AI sabotage program deep into the Threx network. The virus spread silently, disabling targeting systems and causing internal malfunctions. Slowly, the Threx ships began firing blindly, at nothing, or worse, at each other. The Wrathborn chaos erupted. Weapon systems failed, engines sputtered, and internal alarms screamed false warnings. Kashal's fleet was collapsing from within. "Seal the command core," Kashal roared. "Fight as one or perish as many." But his orders were drowned, in confusion. His captains were cut off, his crews terrified and leaderless. As the battle raged, Elena's voice came over the comm. Phase 5 is a success. The Threx fleet is fractured and in disarray. We have the upper hand. Rahim's voice was steady, but awed. They underestimated our patience. Now they suffer the cost. In the aftermath, the nebula grew quiet again, stars twinkling serenely beyond the veil of gas and dust. Elena stood on the bridge of the Gladius, watching the sensor feeds of retreating Threx vessels. The calm had shattered the storm. But she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was watching. The calm human had won this battle, but the war was far from over, and in the silence of space, new shadows were already gathering. The once majestic Threx fleet was now a broken skeleton, drifting through the void. The Orion Nebula battle had fractured their command, shattered their cohesion, and left them vulnerable in ways no one could have imagined mere months ago. Aboard the Wrathborn, Admiral Kashal's red eyes burned with fury and desperation. His flagship, once the proud symbol of Dominion might, now felt like a prison. The corridors buzzed with whispered fears and hurried footsteps, an empire unraveling. "Report," Kashal demanded, voice low but urgent. Commander Vaskin, standing rigid and alert, met his gaze. "Sir, the remaining loyalist forces are dwindling. Several captains have openly refused to engage our enemies. Mutiny is spreading." Kashal's claws clenched so tight his knuckles whitened. "Then I will show them what it means to follow a leader. We will rally or we will fall, but we will do so on my terms." Meanwhile, across the battered human colonies, the mood was cautiously optimistic. Commander Elena Drake stood on the observation deck of the UNS Gladius, looking out at the stars. "Are we safe now?" Lieutenant Chen asked, approaching her, quietly. Elena's eyes didn't leave the distant points of light. "Safe? No. But we are stronger. The Threks are fractured, their fleets bleeding out. Their pride and paranoia are their chains." A soft alert chimed through the ship. Mira Jensen hurried in, breathless. "Commander, encrypted transmissions intercepted. It's the Hegemony Council." Elena gestured to open the feed. The screen flickered to life, showing a stern, heavily armored counselor. "Humans. This war has cost countless lives on both sides. The Council offers a ceasefire, terms of surrender, or continued destruction." Elena leaned forward, fingers steepled. "They offer surrender now. After years of underestimating us? No. But peace is possible, if they understand what they face." Her voice was calm, but the weight behind it was clear. "We will respond, but on our terms." Back in the Wrathborn's dim command chamber, Kashal prepared a final gambit. His advisors presented grim intelligence, defectors among their ranks, widespread sabotage, and dwindling supplies. "The calm humans do not just fight with weapons," Kashal growled. "They fight with patience and silence. We must break that silence." He summoned his war council. "We will strike the heart of their colonies," he declared. "A devastating assault on their home systems. They will understand fear." At Ardell Prime, Captain Mara Lynn received the orders and felt the weight of what was to come. "Commander Drake," Mara spoke via comm, "Kashal plans a counterstrike, targeting our civilian worlds. We must prepare defenses immediately." Elena's voice was steady. "We expected no less. Activate all planetary defense grids. Evacuate non-combatants. This fight is far from over." In the days that followed, the calm before the storm was shattered. The Threks launched sudden, brutal strikes against vulnerable human colonies, targeting supply depots, communication hubs, and civilian infrastructure. Explosions rocked orbital stations, and evacuation ships carried thousands to safety. Yet for every strike, the humans responded with unmatched resilience. Mara Lynn's boarding teams intercepted enemy saboteurs, and the Gladius coordinated a vast network of counterattacks. On the Gladius, Elena paced the command deck. "They think fear will break us," she said softly. "But the calm human is not afraid." Lieutenant Rahim approached, concern etched across his face. "What now, Commander? This war has dragged on longer than anyone imagined. Can we endure?" Elena's gaze was fierce. "We don't endure because it's easy. We endure because we must. Because surrender is not in our nature." As the Threks launched their most desperate assaults, cracks deepened in their own ranks. Mutiny grew rampant. Some captains even sent covert messages to the humans seeking asylum. Elena read each intercepted transmission carefully. "They are trying to negotiate from a position of weakness. We will listen, but only to build strength." The galaxy watched, in awe and fear as the war tilted irreversibly. The calm human, once dismissed as slow and weak, had proven something far more dangerous. A quiet fury, patient and precise, that bled an empire dry. And now, as the war approached its final chapters, only one question remained. Who would be left standing when the calm broke? The final battle was not a thunderous clash of fleets but a slow unraveling, a quiet, precise dismantling of the Threx Dominion's last vestiges of power. Aboard the UNS Gladius, Commander Elena Drake stood resolute, her eyes reflecting the holographic battle map before her. The once imposing Threx fleets were now ragged, scattered, and leaderless. Their proud ships drifted like wounded beasts in the void, bleeding out. "Elena," Lieutenant Chen said, voice tense. "Our scouts confirm Admiral Kishal's flagship, the Wrathborn, has been isolated near the Vortis Expanse. It's their last stronghold." Elena's jaw tightened. "Then this ends here. Prepare boarding teams. We take the Wrathborn and end the war." The Wrathborn loomed in the dark nebula, its scars telling tales of relentless siege and betrayal. Inside, Kishal moved like a shadow, calm yet seething with fury. His council chambers were sparse, the remaining loyalists fewer than ever. "Do you accept the inevitable, Admiral?" a voice challenged. Captain Sithra stepped forward. His expression hard. Kishal's crimson eyes met his. "I do not accept defeat. I accept only honor in the face of extinction." Sthra nodded, a grudging respect in his gaze. "Then we fight to the last breath." Outside, the Gladius launched its boarding pods, silent, swift, and deadly. Captain Marilyn led her team through the Wrathborn's labyrinthine corridors, moving like shadows. The Threx crews, battered and broken, offered little resistance, their spirits crushed by betrayal and exhaustion. Mara's voice was a whisper through comms. "Stay sharp. This is their last stand. They will fight hard." Deep in the command, Kishal prepared for the inevitable. The ship's systems flickered. Internal sabotage and human viruses crippled their defenses. He activated the last line of defense, a cascade of automated turrets and emergency lockdowns designed to trap invaders. Yet, as the Gladius boarding teams advanced, they dismantled, each obstacle with measured precision. In the bridge, Elena watched the progress, calm as ever. They underestimated patience. They thought our calm was weakness. It was our greatest weapon. Her calm crackled. "Captain Lin, status?" "We're at the command core. Encountering resistance but pushing through," Mara reported. Elena nodded. "Hold the line. Reinforcements are en route." In the ship's core chamber, Kishal faced Mara Lin, the calm human who had become his nightmare. "You are persistent," he admitted, his voice low and fierce. Mara's eyes were steady. "We do not seek your destruction, Admiral. We seek peace after you understand the cost of underestimating us." Kishal's claws tightened. "Then we are destined to bleed each other dry." The confrontation was fierce but brief. Mara's team disabled Kishal's weapon systems and secured the command core. With a final defiant glare, Kishal surrendered, knowing the war was lost. Back on the Gladius, Elena received the signal. The Wrathborn was secured. She allowed herself a rare smile. The calm has ended the storm. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The great Threx Dominion had been broken not by overwhelming force, but by quiet patience, strategy, and unyielding calm. The galaxy changed that day. Former enemies extended hands in cautious alliance. Old wounds began to heal. Elena Drake stood on the bridge looking out into the vast unknown. The war was over, but the future was a blank canvas. "The calm doesn't just endure," she whispered to herself. "It transforms." And so the story of the calm human, ignored, underestimated, and ultimately unstoppable, became legend. They had watched their fleets bleed out, and in the silence, they learned what it truly meant to face a calm enemy.